Imagine a teenage boy sitting in his small bedroom, surrounded by plain walls and a cheap desk, using nothing but an old iPhone to record videos. He's not a tech wizard, not rich, and definitely not famous. At the time, he didn't even have a proper camera or a computer that could handle much. His early videos were grainy, his audio was terrible, and most people would have looked at them and said, "This will never work." But that boy, he didn't care. He kept going anyway. Today, that same teenager is Jimmy Donaldson, better known as MrBeast. He's not just a YouTuber, he's the CEO of a content empire. He's built one of the biggest YouTube channels in the world, launched a successful restaurant chain called MrBeast Burger, created his Feastables chocolate brand, and even started massive philanthropic projects. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This story isn't just about his success, it's about the how. How did a kid with no money and zero connections build an empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars? Jimmy's journey began in a small town in North Carolina. Growing up, he didn't fit in. He wasn't the popular kid, and he didn't have a lot of hobbies that people in his town could relate to. But what he did have was an obsession with YouTube. What's an obsession that you have, no matter how small? Let me know in the comments and hit the like and subscribe buttons while you're there. So, Jimmy was obsessed with YouTube. But back then, YouTube wasn't what it is today. Most people thought of it as a place for silly cat videos or random pranks. But Jimmy saw potential. He believed that one day YouTube could be a platform for serious content creators, and he wanted to be one of them. At first, he had no clue how to make it happen. He didn't have the fancy gear you see in his videos today. All he had was an old iPhone, which he used to record and edit his videos. The audio quality was terrible, the lighting non-existent, but Jimmy didn't let that stop him. He worked with what he had. For the first 2 years of his YouTube career, he didn't even own a proper camera. He saved every penny he could, usually going months without spending on anything, just so he could eventually buy a cheap microphone. Even that microphone was a far cry from the high-end equipment he uses today. His early videos were, well, let's just say they weren't the kind of content you'd expect to go viral. He made videos about video games like Call of Duty and Minecraft. He'd sit in front of the camera and talk about things like how much money other YouTubers made, breaking down their ad revenue. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. And here's the thing, even though the quality of his videos was low, people could tell he cared. He poured his heart into every upload, and he made an effort to reply to every single comment he got. That simple act, engaging with his audience, encouraged people to come back and watch more, and it triggered what would become the biggest YouTube successes we've ever seen. Within 2 years, Jimmy had managed to gain over 100,000 subscribers. For someone filming in their bedroom with no budget, that was an incredible achievement. But here's where the story gets interesting. Most people, after hitting that kind of milestone, would start to think about how to cash in. Maybe they'd get some sponsorships, or finally start saving up for themselves. But Jimmy wasn't like most people. Instead of keeping the money he earned, he decided to put every single dollar back into his channel. The first YouTube paycheck he ever got wasn't much, just a few $100s. But to him, it wasn't about how much he was making. It was about what he could do with it. He started small, using the money to fund tiny stunts, like giving $100 to a random pizza delivery guy. Then he leveled up. He took on bigger stunts, like giving $10,000 to a homeless person. A brand actually offered Jimmy $5,000, but he negotiated for $10,000, explaining that he would give it away. You see, Jimmy had a vision. He believed that these acts of generosity weren't just good for views. They were a way to connect with his audience on a deeper level. Every time his channel made money, he poured it right back into the next video. And the more he reinvested, the bigger his stunts became. Eventually, he was giving away cars, houses, and even millions of dollars in cash. But this strategy came with huge risks. There were times when the production costs of his videos were higher than the revenue they generated. In fact, Jimmy has openly admitted that he's lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on certain videos. But for him, it wasn't about profit. It was about building something bigger. And all of these little sacrifices absolutely paid off. As the scope of his projects grew, Jimmy realized he couldn't do it all on his own. In the beginning, he handled everything: filming, editing, planning. But that wasn't sustainable, so he made his first hire, an editor, that freed up his time to focus on the parts of the process he was most passionate about. Over time, he built a team of people who shared his vision. He hired set designers, writers, and production staff to help bring his increasingly ambitious ideas to life. Jimmy wasn't just looking for people with skills, he wanted people with the same level of obsession he had. He said in interviews that he valued work ethic and passions over experience. He wanted team members who wouldn't just say yes to everything, but would challenge him and push his ideas further. One of the secrets to MrBeast's success is his obsession with keeping viewers engaged. He spends hours analyzing his videos to see where viewers drop off, and he uses that data to make each video better than the last. He's mastered the art of the first 10 seconds, understanding that if you don't hook your audience immediately, they'll click away. He's constantly experimenting with new ways to keep people watching, from fast-paced edits to compelling storylines. Every time Jimmy experimented and tweaked his videos, his channel kept growing by hundreds of thousands, then millions of followers. But shockingly, this wasn't enough for MrBeast. As his YouTube empire grew, Jimmy began exploring opportunities beyond the platform. In 2020, he launched MrBeast Burger, a virtual restaurant that operates out of existing kitchens. The concept was simple yet innovative. Use his massive online following to drive demand while partnering with restaurants to handle the cooking and delivery. It was a huge success, quickly expanding to over 1,000 locations worldwide. But it didn't stop there. Jimmy also launched a delicious chocolate brand called Feastables, and he also started dubbing his videos in multiple languages to reach a global audience. Each new venture helped Jimmy with his core mission to create value for his audience and reinvest in his projects. But unfortunately, it wasn't all smooth sailing. As MrBeast's fame grew, so did the scrutiny. There have been tons of people who claim that MrBeast just does charity for the views, that his workplace is toxic, and that his pranks and stunts are unethical. Those are some massive claims that could really damage his reputation. But despite the controversies, Jimmy's remained focused on his goal to make the best videos possible. He's still growing and has even created something called Beast Games that's streaming on Amazon Prime. This was inspired by his insanely viral Squid Game video that has over 723 million views. Jimmy has never been afraid to take risks, whether it's spending millions of dollars on a single video or branching out into entirely new industries. His story really highlights the power of reinvestment, hard work, and a clear vision, and of course, obsession. So, what's next for MrBeast? Will he continue to push the boundaries of what's possible on YouTube, or will the challenges of running such a massive operation start to catch up with him? Only time will tell. What's the biggest takeaway you've gotten from MrBeast's story? Let me know in the comments, and if you found this interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this.